plan as presenting?
So this evening we'll be presenting the 6 components of our budget reduction plan that solve the $66 million deficit the district faces. We're required by law by June to have presented a budget that is balanced, and so this evening we'll be taking action on reduction in force and then 5 other elements that will present a balanced budget.
As far as reduction in force, what are we looking at this point?
Reduction in force will be approximately 500 teachers and approximately 50 support staff members. And those will be teachers, social workers, nurses, guidance counselors from all across the district. They're based on seniority, which is state law, within the license that they hold, like mathematics as example. Our strategy is to reduce the number of periods of music, art, physical education, and library media at the K-8 level as a way of dampening the overall impact. And so you'll see more people with those licenses on the reduction in force list today.
I know when we went down this road last year, obviously when schools came to open, we need to bring many of those back so you didn't have overcrowding in the classroom. Do you think that will be a problem in the fall?
So one of the things we were very careful with is what cuts we weren't going to make. So we did not increase class sizes. We've heard that loud and clear from the community. We did not cut programs like preschool and athletics and extracurriculars. We did not close schools. We're closing buildings instead. And so we've really designed this intentionally to not have the yo-yo effect that we saw last year with putting out more people than we can afford to, then calling them back and having this kind of bouncing effect. We really do need the organization to be about 500 teachers smaller as part of the 6 elements of our budget so that we get to balanced and can operate schools next year.
Talk to me about some of the other components you have.
Sure. So there's 5 other elements to the budget reduction. One is our employee separation plan, which is an incentive for those who are at or close to retirement age to separate from the district as a cost-saving method for the district. And that's going on right now, and the board will take action in May for those who have chosen that option. We are recommending to close 6 operation centers, including the administration center and some professional development, and consolidating that instead of closing schools, which we heard loud and clear from the community that closing schools actually has a negative impact, dramatic negative impact. We're looking at the role of labor negotiations. We've settled our contract with 8 of our unions. We're still negotiating with the Cleveland Teachers Union, and that obviously plays a role in the total budget. We're looking at redesigning some services, particularly transportation and our health care, where we can both make it less costly and actually provide better service, and we'll be talking about those in May. And then finally, we continue to look for every operational efficiency. So we've looked at things like our electricity bills and cost centers to make sure that the non-personnel costs are as lean as possible.
When you talk about the 6 operation centers, you're talking about like the administration building and...
Right, so the operation centers is the administration building, the Lakeside Services building, the Woodland Data Center, which is our data and technology center, the Barbara Burr Bennett Professional Center in Brattonall, which is a professional development center, and then 2 schools, the Health Careers Campus and the Benish Campus, which we also use for professional development. What we're recommending is to consolidate those into a single center at East High School campus, which would host our operations and professional development, and then moving into lease space in the downtown area for a much smaller but visible family and employee services center.
When would you like to begin those moves, per se? Especially with the administration building.
We've asked the board to start deliberating about this at our last meeting, and we are asking them to be ready to take action at the 2nd meeting in May, their business meeting. And then presumably right after that, we would begin to execute lease agreements and put the wheels in place to begin moving out of these facilities and into the new facilities.
And so what will take place tonight? There will be this is just presenting it to the board, and there will be no votes tonight per se on it, or will it?
So we presented the plan to the board actually 2 weeks ago. Tonight we will represent the plan, clarify any questions of the board and community, have public participation, and then ask the board to take action and particularly on the reduction in force.
Okay. And you talked about what you hadn't cut a little bit. Anything more you wanted to say with that?
Yeah, one of the things that we've really paid attention to is the community message. We've surveyed the community, we've had public meetings, we've been through other budget cuts and listened to what people are concerned about, and we heard some really resounding messages. A big one was don't close schools, and we actually did the statistical data, and closing schools actually accelerates the declining enrollment. It actually hurts us on the revenue side because we have fewer children. So we didn't close schools. We heard the class sizes can't get any bigger. And so we did not go after increased class size as part of our solution. We heard don't cut programs in their entirety, like athletics and extracurriculars and preschool. And you'll remember in the fall when we were considering that, that was a very clear message. And so instead of doing those kinds of things, we looked at what services we could reduce but not eliminate that would get us to the goal of a balanced budget but minimize the impact on our families based on what they'd told us in the past.
Simple enough. Anything else you want to add? Or?
I just, we have difficult decisions that have to be made, and I know these are difficult decisions, but again, I hope the community can see with confidence that we're really working hard to minimize the impact on children and looking at where we can reduce but not eliminate as a way of solving a real challenge that we're not the only ones that face. This is happening all across Ohio.
Perfect.
Thanks. As our solutions are very limited now. But I think what you'll also notice tonight is that we don't anticipate actually a very large parent turnout based on the 2 weeks of communicating we've done, where we have not gotten the same level of response that we've had in the past. So we